I used to believe silence could protect people. The kind of silence that keeps a family together, that hides cracks in a marriage, that shields hearts from words too sharp to be spoken. But the truth doesn't dissolve in silence. It grows. It thickens. It waits. And eventually, it demands to be said out loud. It began with the little things. My wife, Elena, pulling away during conversations. The way her phone seemed glued to her palm. Screen tilting away when I walked into the room. The late nights at the office that didn't quite match the calendar on her desk. I told myself I was imagining it. That after 12 years of marriage, comfort sometimes disguised itself as distance. But deep down I knew. One night, after she fell asleep, I picked up her phone. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped it. I wasn't a man who snooped. I wasn't a man who invaded privacy. At least, I didn't used to be. But silence had eaten away at me until I was hollow. The message thread was short, just a handful of texts, but they cut deeper than a novel ever could. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. Next weekend? Same place. I wish things were different. The sender's name was saved under a bland, forgettable contact. But the words, those belonged to someone who had crossed a line with my wife. I remember sitting on the edge of bed, staring at her. She looked so peaceful, her chest rising and falling in rhythm, a faint smile tugging her lips even in sleep. And all I could think was, how long had she been smiling for someone else? I didn't wake her. I didn't scream or throw the phone across the room. Instead, I slipped outside to the porch, sat in the dark, and let the night swallow me. For 3 weeks, I carried the truth inside me like a splinter under the skin. Every glance, every laugh, every routine breakfast we shared, tainted. I went to work, came home, kissed her cheek, pretended nothing had changed, while everything had. But silence has a weight, and it was crushing me. The breaking point came on a Sunday morning. We were sitting at the table, sipping coffee, sunlight streaming across the kitchen floor. She was scrolling on her phone, humming quietly, and I couldn't do it anymore. "Elena," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. She looked up, her eyes soft, unsuspecting. "Yeah." My chest tightened. I could have let it go, swallowed it for another day, another week. But the words pressed against my throat like glass. "I know," I said, just 2 words, but they shattered the air between us. Her face drained of color. The phone slipped from her hand and landed on the table with a dull thud. For a moment, neither of us breathed. "No, what?" she whispered, though her eyes already betrayed her. "The messages. Him. The nights you weren't at the office." My voice cracked. "I know you've been seeing someone else." The silence that followed was deafening. She blinked rapidly, tears welling but not falling. And then she said the words I'd been both dreading and needing to hear. "It's true." Just like that, the last thread of denial snapped. I wanted to rage, to demand explanations, to ask why wasn't I enough? But instead, I felt strangely calm, like I had been holding my breath for months and finally exhaled. "How long?" I asked. "6 months," she whispered. Her voice trembled, and she reached across the table as if her touch could soften the blow. It wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I pulled back, shaking my head. "You don't accidentally betray someone for half a year, Elena." Her tears finally fell, streaking down her cheeks. "I was lonely. You were always busy, always tired." He made me feel seen again. I'm not excusing it. I'm not. I don't know how to stop. The words sliced through me. It wasn't just the affair. It was a confession that I had failed her in ways I hadn't even noticed. But here was the thing. Truth, once spoken, changes everything. We sat in that kitchen for hours. No yelling. No throwing plates. Just raw honesty that burned like acid. She told me about the emptiness she felt. I told her about the nights I sensed her drifting away, but was too afraid to ask why. And then came the hardest truth I had to say out loud. "I don't know if I can forgive you." Her sobs deepened, her face crumpling with regret. But I didn't say it to punish her. I said it because it was the truth. Forgiveness isn't a reflex. It isn't automatic. It's a road. And I didn't know if I had the strength to walk it. That was months ago. We're in counseling now, clawing our way through the wreckage of what used to be simple. Some days, I look at her and see the woman I married, the partner I built a life with. Other days, I see only betrayal. But one thing is certain. Silence will never have a place in this marriage again. If we survive, it will be because we said the truths out loud, even the ones that broke us. Because truth, no matter how ugly, is the only thing that can rebuild what lies destroyed. Do you want me to extend the story further into a full 10K, 15K word version with more detailed scenes, therapy sessions, flashbacks, confrontations, attempts at reconciliation? Or keep it around this length for now? Counseling was Elena's idea. I resisted at first, not because I didn't believe in therapy, but because part of me thought sitting in front of a stranger and rehashing our marriage would just reopen wounds that hadn't even begun to scar. But she begged. She said, "If there's even a chance, Mark, please, don't walk away before we try." So I went. The therapist's office smelled faintly of lavender. The walls were lined with books, soft lighting filling the space with a manufactured calm that didn't reach my chest. Elena sat across from me on the beige couch, hands folded tightly in her lap, as if she could hold her guilt together by sheer force. The therapist, Dr. Reeves, didn't waste time. "Mark," he said gently, "you discovered your wife's affair. You're here because part of you still wants to fight for this marriage. What's the hardest truth you haven't said out loud to her yet?" The room went silent. I stared at the patterned rug, at the knot of Elena's trembling hands. My throat burned. Finally, I said, "That every time I look at her, I see him." Elena flinched like I had struck her. Tears filled her eyes instantly, but she didn't look away. "That's my truth," I continued, my voice breaking. "It's not just you I have to forgive. It's the image of you with him that lives in my head, and I don't know how to erase it." Elena's tears slid down her cheeks, and for the first time, she didn't try to justify, didn't try to explain. She just nodded, accepting the weight of my words. Dr. Reeves leaned in. That's where we start, with truths that hurt, spoken out loud, because silence only feeds shadows. The weeks that followed were brutal. Therapy became a battlefield of honesty. Elena admitted she had thought about leaving me, that for a brief, terrifying window of time, she pictured a life with him. Hearing that nearly tore me apart. But it was also the first time I realized just how lost she had been inside our marriage. I confessed my own sins, not of betrayal, but of neglect. How I buried myself in work. How I stopped noticing her new dresses. How I gave her routine instead of romance. I hadn't cheated with another woman, but I had cheated her out of being seen, and in her loneliness, someone else stepped into the space I left behind. Some nights after therapy, we barely spoke. I'd roll to my side of the bed, stiff as a stranger. She'd curl up facing the wall, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Other nights, we'd cling to each other desperately, as if intimacy could stitch over the wound. But every touch carried questions. Does she miss him? Does he still text her? Am I enough now? One evening, about 3 months in, I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table with a sealed envelope in front of her. "I wrote him a letter," she said, voice steady, "and I never sent it." I froze. What does it say? That I can't see him anymore. That I chose you. That I regret every second I stole from us. Her eyes searched mine. "I didn't send it because I want to say it out loud to you, not him. You." I didn't know if it was closure or another knife, but I listened as she read the letter. Her voice broke halfway through, her words trembling with remorse. By the end, she was sobbing. I reached across the table, laid my hand on hers. For the first time since the night I discovered the text, I didn't pull away. Healing wasn't linear. It never is. There were setbacks. A song on the radio would trigger me. A random late-night phone notification would send my heart into a tailspin. Sometimes, I'd snap without warning, bitterness spilling out in sharp words I regretted the moment they left my mouth. But there were breakthroughs, too. Small moments. Her reaching for my hand during a movie, me surprising her with flowers, us laughing over a memory from the early years. that reminded me why we had built this life together in the first place. One night, in bed, she whispered, "I know you may never fully forgive me, but I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn back your trust." For the first time, I believed her, and yet the final truth I had to say out loud wasn't for her. It was for me. At our last session with Dr. Reeves, months after that first devastating confession, I turned to Elena and said, "I still love you, and that terrifies me." Her eyes widened, lips trembling. "Because love makes forgiveness possible," I said, "but it also makes betrayal possible. And I don't know which road we're on yet, but I'm choosing to stay, to find out." The silence that followed wasn't heavy this time. It was hopeful. Elena took my hand in both of hers, holding on as if it was the only thing keeping her grounded. And maybe in that moment it was the truth I had to say out loud didn't just break us. It gave us a chance to rebuild. And whether our marriage survives another year or another lifetime, I know one thing. The worst lie is silence. And I'll never live in silence again.